So, I have been up and down about this for quite a while. Not only that, but I have been forward and back, left to right, loop-de-loop on how I feel about this. But after remembering how much I learned with Utao, and how, well, there is a much more efficient method than just giving Audacity files, which, mind you, some of the Audacity files are like a fucking gigabyte with the folder. I think, I think I'm finally able to finalize what I wanted to do. And this method is much more simple than what I thought about a year ago. Hell, it's much more simple than the idea I have thought about months back. And believe me, we'll get to that train wreck in a bad idea in due time. Anyways, on to the thing. I have been thinking about 7 guidances to Wishful Safety a whole lot lately. And while I want to get around to planning for the RPG reimagining, I am kinda stumped at the moment due to the fact that the original version is still highly regarded. And so, I went through a freaking roller coaster of ideas with this one. And these ideas are 1. Making multiple voice versions of the OG Fanime. That one I have thought about in 2023, but I lost motivation because making multiple voice versions is kind of fucky sometimes. Maybe. 2. Actually remaking the Fanime, which, would have made sense, but sadly, this one is a little bit difficult due to the multitude of reasons. Hence why I've decided to make the reimagining an RPG. And 3. Making not 1, not 2, but 3 self-bootlegs that will coincide with the RPG, and I would have called it Project Guidance Division. And while this is possible in theory, in practice it's just too much for someone like me, dude. Like, it's too much in retrospect. That one I do feel kinda bad for because I've made designs for all 3 of the self-bootlegs. So yeah, for a while, I was kinda stumped as hell. And then I remember something. Something that I did not mention in my Utao video because I wanted to keep that one short. So, a bit of a story time. See, I recorded for my Utao in Dark Audacity despite many folks probably would say that I should have used Auremo to do the recording. And on one hand, I get where they were coming from in that hypothetical. But on the other hand, it's just Dark Audacity having features that I love, such as generating silence and amplify. Especially since, Sonoko's voice bank is very quiet initially, so I had to amplify that shit. And there's one thing I've learned when I was doing my research when it comes to Utao. In Audacity, which is what Dark Audacity is based off, there is a 2 types of features that I'm just like, oh, this could be useful. Which is like the label track feature and the export multiple feature. The latter is more important to talk about for this video, because I have gone out of my way to export all the tracks for all the 5 episodes, including episodes that have multiple parts audio-wise. Because there is one thing to note that I have thought of during my time that I purposely did not bring up earlier. 4. Making the audio for 7 Guidances to Wishful Safety semi-open source for the peeps that want to do Fandubs for it. The reason why I initially shelved this idea is because, well, the initial way I wanted to make this idea open source is just sending the Audacity files, and as stated earlier, the whole folder for the Audacity files is 1 bloody gigabyte. And it'd be a terrible idea to send it to people that want to do Fandubs for it. Like, yeah, I think it's a good idea that I initially shelved it before, Utao helped me out. And because learning stuff about Utao helped me out, I was able to use the export multiple feature as stated previously. And while it did took a bit because, I spent like an entire majority of my day trying to, like, get the files to export, I say that it's kind of, like, worth the effort, really, to, try to separate everything. Now, why did I put all of this effort? Well, without going into details, I initially wanted to remaster the OG 7 Guidances Fanime in a way for me that's, like, for my own personal comfort, but I know that probably sounds selfish coming from me, so that's why I decided to make the audio for it open source for the fans and friends. And now, if they want to, some of the OG VAs for 7 Guidances to Wishful Safety can have fun fan-dubbing this project in the way that they wanted to. But one thing is for sure. To everyone that might be excited for fan-dubbing 7 Guidances, especially if you're not part of my usual circles, y'all are going to have to wait because, here's another wrench in my journey. So, while the animation style for the fight scene in episode 2 is different, at the very least, it is animated by one person. Episode 5's fight scene is a different story entirely, because it is animated by 5 other goddamn people. And while it is fine for the time, given the circumstances I was in at the time, i.e., I did not have Clip Studio Paint, I think now that's not really a valid excuse anymore. So what the fuck even is the strat on how I need to go about with this? Well...
Foolish mortals. Such naivety that will ultimately lead to your demise. Either leave this place, or suffer from my wrath.
No, you know what? How about you can kindly go and fuck yourself? I came this far, trying to save the only person outside of my family and been nice to me in my world, and you just expect me to quabble in fear? Then eat this, you fear-mongering ass dick!
Wow!
That was shockingly impressive. I was in fear before Miss Mallory let out her rage.
Lori's right. We came far since we were called here. We gotta keep going.
The lightning has been nothing but a distraction. How are you going to expect someone like me to...
Right. This might be our chance.
Right.
Roger that, Miss Sanaya.
That's right, folks. I am going to reanimate episode 5's fight scene. All 5 hearts. Yeah, it's going to be a long journey. And if you're wondering, yes, that part you saw is a long part. I'm kind of glad that I'm doing this on Clip Studio Paint EX on my Galaxy tablet, even though I'm on a 6-month free trial. And honestly, there are 2 factors to this. One, if I am just one person for working on this for the billionth time, it's just gonna be a very long while, and I'd aim for something like June 1st of 2026. And 2, if I get some folks who would help me out that also has CSP EX, I might hand them the CSP files from my Galaxy tablet and send them via Discord, which might be a quicker process, ? I don't know if that is, but not gonna lie, I am kind of like leaning towards the second option because, while some projects of mine can call for a one-person project, I think this one in particular doesn't. That said, however, given the fact that this is a project I am gonna spearhead on my own if I were to make it a team, I think it should be a good idea that I would be strict with wanting to, keep a consistent art style, i.e., my art style. The art style for 7 Guidances, since I have multiple art styles. But yeah, I probably would like to have somebody who does like sketch animation, and the other person that would do like the line art and the R&B guidelines. And I just do the coloring and maybe backgrounds. And why? Because I am a glutton for punishment. With that said, I know that not many folks want to do animation unpaid. After all, I think indie animation is becoming more and more professional, so it's gonna be hard to find fellow animators that would want to be part of this team specifically. Well, this hypothetical team, but it's semantics. I might have to find animators that are within the Fanime community, or even just former members of the community, really. And said folks I mentioned is probably have to have something like Clip Studio Paint EX is willing to help out, and is willing to stick with my art style. Now, of course, I could do the third unofficial option, which is basically like just giving like both the Clip Studio Paint files of all the parts storyboarded and or the MP3s of the parts storyboarded and just put them in a Google Drive and like give it to those that want to reanimate those parts for themselves. I'm not too sure if that is a good idea, but leave in the comments or just DM me to see if that's even a good idea. In case if you want to make your own unorthodox method that I have done. I'm such a dork. In the hypothetical, if I go with the second option, if I don't find anybody that will help me out by the time January rolls around, I may have to do one of those animator calls on casting call clubs, because spoiler alert, you can do casting calls for those that do creative stuff as well, such as calling for artists, animators, and hell, even coders. And why wait until January to do that? Well, unrelated to 7 Guidances, but I want to do a little bit of a keep special in regards to Moonmansion Solitary, which that's a thing I want to do as a one-person project. And I wanted to do that before the year ends. And yes, this is related to that one Fanime Challenges that Sophie is hosting. Don't at me. And I will say though, I am kind of feeling a little bit of burnout when it comes to working on this project, just slightly. And that is likely due to the fact that I just been doing everything at once because I have no self-control. Like, I don't know, exporting the audio for all the tracks, including making versions of the episodes that don't have the voice acting and it's nothing but the sound effects and music. Trying to get the original versions of the parts of the fight scene for episode 5, which, by the way, that was hell! And then immediately started storyboarding for part 1 of said fight scene, which is arguably the longest part of that scene. I think a break from this 7 Guidances related project might be in order. Doing all of that in once, and like in one day, it might take a toll on a motherfucker, let me tell you. So, a break might be in order, and I have to focus on other projects. And also, I may have to draw for some Secret Santas that I am a part of. With that said, I hope you all like what I have in store and what I can power through to share with y'all. And if there's some questions, feel free to say in the comments down below. Don't ask any about the personal ones, I would just refuse right then and there. And hell, I'll probably make like a little video that's basically just a preview of the reanimated version of the fight scene, which will be on my AFK Art Staff channel. And on that note, that is that. This is SGtWS of YouTube signing out. Goodbye!